Have you ever stayed in a relationship, not because it felt right but because you were scared to admit it was already over? Yeah. We don't talk about that enough, do we? Because sometimes love doesn't end with shouting matches or dramatic goodbyes. It ends quietly. In the space between two people who still share a bed but not their hearts. Where laughter is replaced with tension, and silence becomes louder than words. So if you're stuck in that gray, painful limbo where your soul feels disconnected but your lips keep saying, "We're fine," this video might be the mirror you've been avoiding. Because deep down, you already know something's changed. You crave emotional safety but feel like you're walking on eggshells. You keep blaming yourself for the distance, as if loving harder could fix what's already broken. You feel lonelier with him than you do when you're completely alone. And maybe the worst part. You've stopped dreaming about a future with him, but you're still pretending like one exists. Today, we're diving into 10 secret signs your relationship is already over, even if no one has dared to say it out loud. And trust me, number 7? It's the one no one wants to admit, but once you see it, you can't unseen it. Let's talk. Number 1. Conversations feel like obligations, not connection. You used to talk about everything, your wild dreams, your strange little thoughts, that ridiculous show you stayed up late watching. Now, even a "How was your day?" feels like a chore, like pulling teeth from a ghost. The spark was never just about passion. It was about presence. About being seen, heard, and felt even in the quietest, most mundane moments. When the conversation dies, it's not just awkward silence. It's a warning bell echoing in the emptiness. A sign that something sacred is slipping unnoticed, unspoken, unresolved. Because love doesn't vanish in storms. It fades in stillness. In unanswered messages. In distracted glances. In the space where your voice used to live. When connection turns into convenience, intimacy turns into obligation. And suddenly, you're lying next to someone who feels miles away. That's not just distance. That's disconnection in its most dangerous disguise. Number 2. You're more comfortable alone than with them. Of course, it's normal to crave your own space. But if their absence feels like peace and their presence feels like pressure, that's not solitude, that's your soul silently retreating. That's not you recharging, that's you recovering. And no, love was never meant to feel like emotional survival. Being in love should feel like home, not like hiding. It should calm your nervous system, not trigger it. If you find yourself breathing easier when they leave, that's not love, that's relief dressed up in denial. Real love doesn't feel like escape. It feels like belonging. And if every conversation feels like walking on eggshells, then darling, you're not building a future, you're dodging the present. Number 3. Intimacy feels forced or faded. And I'm not just talking about sex. It's the slow death of the small things, his hand no longer finding yours in the dark, the forehead kisses that used to feel like home now feel like routine, like habit. Even lying side by side on the couch, once a sacred kind of closeness, now feels like two strangers waiting for a clock to run out. The touch isn't absent, it's hollow. Mechanical. Stripped of warmth, meaning, intention. When the physical connection fades, and neither of you flinches, questions, or mourns it, that's not distance. That's quiet detachment in its final form. It's the way your skin stops aching for them. The way silence between you no longer feels peaceful, just permanent. It's when intimacy starts to feel like a task instead of a choice, when your body shows up, but your soul no longer follows. And maybe the worst part, it dies quietly. Not with a slam of doors, but with the absence of a hand on your back when you needed grounding the most. That's not just love ending. That's love eroding and no one bothering to stop the crumble. Number 4. You start fantasizing about a life without them. Here's a bitter truth that's hard to swallow but impossible to ignore. You find yourself fantasizing about a new city. A different skyline, unfamiliar streets, a quieter apartment where peace echoes instead of arguments. And in this new chapter, they're not there. And what's strange? That image doesn't shatter you. It soothes you. It feels like the first deep breath after being underwater too long. That's not coldness. That's your heart drafting its escape route while your mind still clings to the past like it owes it something. Because deep down you know, love isn't supposed to feel like survival. The idea of leaving shouldn't feel more like coming home than staying does. You've stopped picturing a future with them and started craving one without. You're not heartless, you're just finally listening to your own. Sometimes, healing begins the moment you stop hoping they'll change. And the moment relief outweighs the pain, that's the first sign you're already halfway out the door. Number 5. Arguments don't feel worth it anymore. It's not even that the arguments are constant. It's that the silence between you is louder than any scream because neither of you cares enough to fight anymore. When someone stops trying to mend the cracks, it's rarely about peace. It's because their heart has already left the room, even if their body hasn't. Apathy doesn't whisper. It roars. Louder than anger. Colder than betrayal. More final than goodbye. Because when love dies, it doesn't always end in fire, it fades into a terrifying indifference. No questions, no explanations, just a quiet disappearance of effort. You stop asking where they are, and they stop pretending they care. It's the kind of deadness you don't grieve with tears but with numb acceptance. And the worst part? You both know it, but neither of you says a word. Number 6. You feel lonely even when you're with them. This is the most soul-crushing kind of loneliness. You're sitting side by side on the same couch, maybe even your fingers are laced together, but the silence between you roars louder than any argument ever could. You speak, but your words vanish into a void. You reach out, but it's like touching a ghost. You look into their eyes and see everything except yourself. It's not absence that hurts the most, it's presence without connection. It's lying next to someone whose heart no longer reaches for yours. It's sharing space with a person who once knew your soul but now treats it like an afterthought. It's pretending everything is fine, while your spirit starves in plain sight. It's the ache of being emotionally abandoned by someone who's still physically there. This isn't just a rough patch. This is emotional malnourishment where love is rationed, and affection is a memory. Number 7. You stop talking about the future. This one cuts deeper than you'll admit. Remember when you used to whisper, "Someday we'll travel there," or dream aloud, "When we have kids." Those once sacred conversations have vanished into silence. Or worse, they now trigger anxiety, a dull ache in your chest that won't go away. When the future stops being a shared vision and turns into a private, painful thought, that's when your soul starts grieving a love that's still technically alive. Because deep down, your heart already knows there's nothing left to build on. You're not growing together anymore. You're just coexisting in emotional purgatory. The plans you used to make? They've become ghost stories, haunting reminders of the life you almost had. And the silence between you? It's no longer peaceful, it's loud with everything you're both too afraid to say. Love doesn't just die in a fight, sometimes it dissolves in the quiet, in the absence of dreaming together. Number 8. Their presence feels heavy, not healing. You used to light up when they walked into the room, your heart would skip a beat, your world would momentarily pause. Now, it's like a storm follows them everywhere, and you're the one always drenched in silence, fear, and unspoken tension. You feel like you're tiptoeing through a minefield, every word measured, every breath calculated just to avoid yet another explosion. What once felt like home now feels like a battlefield, and you're always the one waving the white flag. Love isn't meant to feel like emotional labor 24/7. It's not supposed to drain your spirit or make you question your worth every night before bed. You weren't made to shrink just to keep someone else comfortable. You weren't born to be someone's emotional punching bag, to carry the weight of their moods while silencing your own pain. A relationship should be a safe haven, not a storm you have to survive every day. Real love doesn't require you to abandon yourself in order to be chosen. And if you're constantly sacrificing your peace just to avoid being abandoned, that's not love. That's emotional survival dressed in the mask of loyalty. Number 9. You keep making excuses for why you stay. But we've been together for so long. But it's not that bad. But maybe it'll change. If you find yourself weaving excuses like armor defending your relationship to your friends, to your family, or worst of all, to yourself, that isn't love. That's survival. And love should never feel like something you have to survive. The right kind of love doesn't ask for justification. It doesn't make you shrink, silence your instincts, or second-guess your worth. It holds you with ease, not explanations. It aligns with your soul, not your fears. It grows in honesty, not in denial. It feels like peace, not persuasion. It flows without you having to fight for air. Because when it's real, you won't feel like you're constantly convincing yourself to stay. You'll simply know, this feels right. And that knowing? It's louder than 1,000. But what ifs? Number 10. You can't remember the last time you felt truly happy together. This one cuts deep. When you try to recall the last time you felt genuinely happy with them, the kind of happiness that dances in your chest like butterflies, electric and alive, and your mind goes utterly blank, that's not forgetfulness. That's your soul whispering what your heart already knows. The light is gone. And it's not coming back. You didn't lose the spark. It burned out slowly while you kept striking matches in the dark, hoping they'd notice. You weren't asking for too much. You were asking for the bare minimum: connection, effort, presence. And they gave you silence in return. Now even your memories feel faded, like postcards from a place you barely recognize. Sometimes the saddest part isn't the end. It's realizing the love you kept fighting for died long before you were ready to let go. I know. This is heavy. It's not easy admitting that something that once felt so right might now be wrong. But here's what I want you to know. You are not a failure for outgrowing something. You are not selfish for wanting more. You are allowed to leave something that's no longer loving you back. Before you stay another year hoping it gets better, ask yourself, if nothing changes, would I still be okay living like this forever? If the answer is no, it's okay to start choosing you. And if this video made you feel seen, or if you're walking through something similar, you're not alone. Drop a heart in the comments if this hit home, and let's support each other. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more real talk like this. And remember, leaving isn't the end. Sometimes it's the beginning of coming back home to yourself. I'm rooting for you. Always.